So today, we're going to try something a little different. We are going to hack the American dream. And I don't just mean talking about the challenges of modern life. I mean showing you how raw, public data can actually help us understand and maybe even redesign our lives for the better. Let's dive in. You ever have that feeling? You know the one, where you feel like you're being stretched in a million different directions, especially when it comes to your two most precious resources, time and money. It's like this constant tug of war where you just can't seem to get ahead.
But what if the answer isn't just, work harder or be more frugal? What if the real key is to step back and think like a coder? To look at the raw data of how we live and find a smarter, more elegant solution to the whole problem.
To do that, we're going to need the right tools. And for this, we're going to look at two incredibly powerful public data sets that, when you put them together, give us this amazingly clear picture of life in America. Okay, think of them like this. On one hand, you've got the MIT Living Wage Index. We'll call that our money map. It tells us, down to the specific county, what it actually costs to live. On the other hand, we have the American Time Use Survey, or ATUS. That's our time diary. It shows us exactly how we spend every one of the 24 hours in a day. One tells us about the financial squeeze, the other tells us about the time squeeze. Now, before we go any further, let's be super clear about what we mean by living wage. This isn't about getting rich or living in luxury. It's the absolute bare minimum hourly wage someone needs to cover the basics. We're talking food, housing, healthcare, without needing to rely on government help. It's essentially the price tag for a stable, if modest, life. So what happens when we actually use these tools to look at the American landscape? Well, the picture that starts to form is detailed, it's specific, and honestly, it's pretty darn surprising. Just look at this number, $92,000. That is the pre-tax income that the data says a single parent with 2 kids needs just to get by in Texas. Not California, not New York, Texas. That's almost double what a single adult without kids needs in the exact same state. So why? What's going on here? And the breakdown is where it gets really revealing. A full quarter of that family's entire budget gone, just for childcare. That single expense is the biggest financial pressure they face. And that's the power of this data, right? It doesn't just tell you there's a problem, it pinpoints the exact source of the struggle. And this isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of problem. As you can see here, the hourly wage you need to earn just for a simple 2-bedroom apartment, well, it varies wildly depending on where you live. The difference is just staggering, and it proves there's no such thing as a single American cost of living. Your zip code really does shape your financial reality. I mean, these numbers just make the point so clear. A wage that might let you live pretty comfortably in one state, well, it might not even cover your rent in another. This regional difference is absolutely critical to understand. Location changes everything. Okay, so the data is great at showing us the problems in really sharp detail. But, identifying problems is only half the job. How do we actually go from seeing an issue to doing something about it? Well, there's a simple, repeatable plan for that. The process is really straightforward. First, you use the data to find the biggest pain point. Is it childcare costs? Is it time stuck in traffic? Housing? Step 2, you brainstorm a really targeted, laser-focused solution for that one specific problem. And then, step 3, you use the data all over again to prove how your solution could actually make a difference in a family's budget or their daily schedule. All right, let's make this feel real. Let's run a test case. We're going to take a concept, say Tesla's autonomous Robotaxi, and apply our data-driven framework to see if it could actually solve one of the big problems we've just identified. So let's actually apply our framework here. We know from our money map that transportation is a major cost. And we know from our time diary that commuting is a huge time suck for millions of people. So the question becomes, how could something like an autonomous robotaxi actually help with those two pressures? Well, the potential here is that it could have a dual impact. First, it could tackle that money squeeze. If a robotaxi service ends up costing less than owning, insuring, and gassing up your own car, it directly shrinks a huge household expense. And second, it tackles the time squeeze.
By giving you back all those hours you spend driving, it literally frees up a massive chunk of your day. And you can see that potential impact so clearly when you look at it in a before and after way. High, unpredictable transportation costs could become lower and more manageable. An hour of dead time stuck in traffic could suddenly become an hour you can use to work or read or just relax. The end result? A direct boost to both your disposable income and your free time. The very two things we're all trying to get more of. But here's the most important takeaway from all of this. The robot taxi is just an example. The real innovation here is the method. This is about using data to get a crystal clear picture of our real, fundamental needs, and then designing solutions, whether it's technology or policy or community programs, that directly solve for those needs. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We've just seen how data can help us pinpoint the true cost of childcare and then justify a whole new model for transportation. So the real question is, what other core challenges of modern life are just sitting there, waiting for the same data-driven approach? What problem should we be trying to hack next?